Joe.
And welcome to Convenient Truth. Oh man, you guys are catching me at like such an amazing time because about an hour and a half or so before this, I wouldn't have sounded like this. I
So,
wouldn't have sounded like this. I wouldn't
oh,
have felt like this. I wouldn't have been like I feel amazing right now, like a whole new person.
we took naps, and Aaliyah doesn't take naps.
I never nap. I have not you can ask any of my close friends. I have not napped since I was like a teenager, right? And usually teens just like always sleep, right? But have not teenager or maybe like in my low 20s, but I've never napped. Like I can't. I could be tired as hell and lay on the couch and still nothing will happen. So I know when I've gone out the night before and maybe kind of like really just hung out too hard. I know when that happens when I actually do take a nap because that's my body that's like, what the fuck?
But the thing is, you didn't go hard last night. But anyways, nap. I always said that you'd like
It was
naps.
hard for me. It was hard
I
for
was
me.
saying that you need it. You need to take a rest and take naps. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to have the FOMO, right?
I know, but it's not
That's what
even
it is.
about the FOMO. It's like I want to be able to fall asleep in those moments when I'm just like tired, but I feel like this is what I feel like when I nap during the day. I feel like I'm not, this is me personally, I'm not like doing, oh my God, I just had a revelation.
Wow.
So someone actually recently has enlightened me with the fact that I put pressure on myself, right? And I put pressure on myself and I'm too hard on myself. And as I'm sitting here having this conversation, the reason why I don't nap is because in my mind, I feel like I should be doing something or need to be doing something else. And if I'm not if I'm napping, then that means that I'm not a productive like
Like you're
person in
fucking up.
society and I'm
Yeah.
fucking up.
Yeah.
Right. Pressure.
Right.
That's another way that I put pressure on myself. I put pressure on myself in all these types of ways that I'm now just like even realizing. It's like a whole new, this is my new path. So
Yeah.
actually, my new path, which I'm excited about, and I'm going to talk this out to everyone, my new path in life right now is self-compassion, being more compassionate to myself,
Yeah.
tending to myself more, not being so hard on myself because I'm seeing how hard I am, how much pressure I put on myself. And just really kind of like really just immersing myself in that. And I think that is a piece that I haven't had, because I've just lived my life like this. And so I'm excited how all the pieces of this puzzle are all like coming together if you think about it, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm going to Europe. That happened out of like an impulsive purchase, right? In my head because I was thinking that you and Soul would come with me. And then it just so happened that it didn't happen that way. And I'm now leaving for the first time since I've been married to you and had a kid for 13 days to Europe as though I'm like 20 again, like 30 again. And it's just crazy how everything's kind of coming together with this whole self-compassion thing and like it's wild. It's it's
Hold
it's
up.
it's actually
So how
exciting.
does that relate to the self?
Because what this is this me going on this trip, which I'm absolutely scared of, by the way, because I have not been away from you guys for so long, and this life that I have for so long. So it's a challenge for me, and it's challenging me to be able to focus more on myself and learn about who I am outside of being a mom and outside of being a wife because I immersed myself so much in that life, which is great. But I think with that, I also put on a lot more pressure on myself. And I think with that, lost a little bit of who I am just without those two things. And so I'm excited. I think that this is all coming together. I'm literally, this is all hitting me like right now in this moment. It's all coming together how the universe just completely has shifted this all at the time that it shifted it, and it's just all supposed to happen this way.
How much of it do you think is that you're just now currently aware of it. It was all like happening. The universe was making it happen anyways.
Right.
And if you weren't aware of it, most likely you'd be fighting it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think this is a good topic, like self-love and self-care. I mean, people talk about it all the time, but it's like to actually do it means to relinquish control and power of what's going on in your life, right?
Right. That's me. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Control is my jam.
But
you
people
know?
will say, "Oh, self-love, take care of yourself all the time." But like, are you really doing it on a daily basis, on a weekly
Yes.
basis? Like, are you taking care of your health? Are you going to the gym? Are you eating healthy? Are you just tired and need a break? You
Yeah.
know, are you verbalizing your kind of needs and stuff
Yeah.
to the people around you
Yep.
so that we can all help and support and we give and take. Like I have days that I need breaks too, so I have to like verbalize that to you, and if I don't, then I just keep fucking doing what I'm doing, and I know I need the break, but I don't fucking do it. You know,
You're
if I'm like
you're way
that.
better at that
Yeah.
than I am. Like I mean, when have you ever really had me come to you and say, "Hey, I need me time."
Yeah, you don't. That's what I'm saying. But I've
You know.
told you many times. I've say,
You're
are
always
you
telling
sure
me.
you
I
need?
know.
Do you don't? I think you need a little break, and
I
you're like,
know.
no, I'm fine.
I know.
I'm
I
like,
run
"All right."
myself ragged.
Yeah, yeah. So
Run
for all
myself
you out
ragged.
there that are like, a lot of people are probably doing this on a daily basis, and they don't even realize it because they're just so caught up in their lives
Going.
and their whatever they're doing. You know, everybody has their things, and it's important because in the end, you're not going to be doing whatever that is in your head that you're productive or whatever. You're not going to be doing 100% job at that if you're not 100% within yourself. You know?
It's wild. So now, the other thoughts that I have is I'm like, okay, and oh my god, I'm so ridiculous. This is another because I just had a thought of of I want to be better. But in a sense, though, that is kind of a little bit of pressure
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
I'm putting on myself. I
Right.
just had that thought because in my mind, now with this whole self compassion thing and da 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 and stuff like that, and this new path, in my mind is going, oh, this is great. I'm gonna kill this, right? I'm gonna right. All
Ah,
right.
yeah,
I'm gonna get.
like
I'm
it's a
gonna.
project or
I'm gonna right.
something.
I'm gonna work on this, da, 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 and it's gonna make me a better clinician, better mom, better wife, better which I believe to be true.
Yeah.
But I take it on as though it's
Because
like
it's
this
just
like
challenging.
yeah. It gets so like
Well, that energy has to go somewhere, right? So whatever that whatever energy that is, nervous energy or whatever it is that's like keep preventing you from taking naps and whatever that whatever that energy is now shifting, but you're trying to figure out where it's going to shift to because it's energy.
Right.
You can put it into something. So I think you're in the right direction. You know, that sounds like it's, you know, if you want to use it as a motivator at first or something, I guess, to kind of push yourself. But I think that can slowly shift to something more productive. Once this becomes like just natural
thing.
and a routine, then you can shift that energy elsewhere. You know, I think right now you're utilizing it as like, all right, this is all for the best. It's all for I'm going to better myself in
Right.
these different areas, and you're kind of using it like that. But yeah, I don't think it needs to stay that way.
No, it doesn't need to stay that way. I think also it's the language that I use. Like I which is so funny because I am such a pusher of the language that we use to talk to ourselves when I do therapy, you know, like with my patients, and because I'm the objective person in that room, it's easier for me to obviously catch it and hear it when other people say it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not so easy for me. I'm now realizing when I do it, and someone has been calling me out on that. And she's been like, look, like you're using these words like you should or you need or you have to, and I always tell my patients, I'm like, restructure that.
Yeah.
It's just too, it's the expectation, it's too much pressure. Meanwhile, I didn't even realize that I was like doing that as much as I thought I even was in my own life. And so I have to really work on restructuring how I speak to myself with this self-compassion and giving myself a break. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to, I don't have to, I don't should. I could change it to like I want to. I
Yeah.
could change it to I could. I could, you know, like but not, so.
I think where, and maybe you'll get to this point at some point, where I struggle when I'm trying to do that is like, I have these like lists of priorities in life, you're up there, Soul's up there, just like, I don't know, life, finances, stuff like that. There's a tier, and it's like, okay, I know in my head that my health and my own mental, balance has to be number one, even above you, unfortunately, right?
Of course. No, that's not unfortunate.
Right. But it's like hard to keep it up there. So I'm constantly looking at like my schedule for the day and the week or whatever, and like I'm trying to keep it there. So like, when do I have time? All right. Does this mean I have to start waking up at like 5 in the morning so I can like meditate or whatever? Or can I shift that? And what I do is I meditate before I go to bed. But some days I think it would benefit me better if I meditated in the morning. But that would mean I would have to wake up before everybody else wakes up to meditate, because once everybody wakes up, then responsibilities start and like the day
Why don't you
starts.
just do both? Why don't you just do a morning one and then a night one, and you can set a different intention for each one?
Yeah, no, I can, and like that's my struggle isn't so much like self love and self care. It's more of
I think
the
I wouldn't say it's not your struggle. I don't think it's your biggest struggle,
yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah, no, it is. And then but it's more of like the spiritual aspect of it, of like how you have this thing that you're working on with like consistency with like eating healthy and stuff like that. Mine is the consistency of like spiritual like enlightenment, and of like just staying on it, staying with the meditation, staying with the yoga, staying with the like the saunas and all these things that like when you're sitting alone and like working on yourself basically mentally. Believe it or not, I've been doing it for years, but like it's still a struggle.
we're gonna get cut off and
No, well, don't.
because I know he has to go to
You're
the bathroom.
Euro's crying up there, but what I've realized is a lot of these noises that we hear here, you can't hear on the podcast.
Okay, cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Yeah.
I just feel
I've
bad
just
because I
kinda-
know he has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, well, he had his chance before because I asked him and he chose not to go downstairs and go outside, so he can wait.
I don't want him to shit himself.
He's not going to shit himself. He had a chance. If he had to shit himself, he would have shit himself right there. I had the door open. I said, "You got to go." This was no joke, like 10 minutes ago. So he's fine. He can go out the front door.
It's gonna kill me. All right.
Look, we're on a roll talking about something good.
I know we are. I
and
think we're
now-
talking about something great, but what's gonna happen is if I keep hearing him cry, I'm not gonna be able to focus. It's so hard.
And why is that, Aaliyah? Why
Because
is that?
I don't like it when my children need something, and I could easily provide it. I could easily just go
But,
upstairs.
we have people. Your mom is up there. He's not by himself.
That's true.
Things can be done without us.
All right. All right.
Maybe this is part of it. Maybe this is part of everything we're talking about right now. Relinquish control.
Clearly, yeah.
We're taking time to do what we like to do, which is this podcast, and it's our time. This is our time. It kind of is. It
Yeah.
is.
No, I know. I understand.
Because I'm thinking like our
Understand that.
time is like, yeah, actually you and I have been slacking on our time as well. Like we haven't done like
On-
date night in a while.
Look, Euro has to go potty. He's crying.
Yeah,
Open the door.
tell her to go out the
please.
front. Go out the front. Or out the side door.
Oh my God. See.
We're getting a text message from Aaliyah's mom about the dog having to go pee or poop or whatever. Also, we have a washing machine going on, but most likely you guys can't hear any of this stuff. So I'm just tuning it out because I've chosen to decide that it doesn't affect the sound quality. In the past 57 episodes, I would be very mentally nuts right now, but I've switched my perspective on this whole thing.
Yeah, you're really like taking a whole different approach. Usually you'd be like literally so distracted and
Yeah.
freaking out right now.
Now I'm over it now. It's like,
Good.
yeah, doesn't it's whatever. See, look,
Okay.
he
All
just
right.
went
Well,
outside.
all right. All right. He's fine now.
All right, now he went out. Now we heard the door. He went outside. Now
Now now I can breathe.
So okay, where were we? Yeah,
Um,
just like we're transitioning into other things. But what do you got? A raisin?
Yeah. No, just like the self-compassion and all that whole entire. Oh no, you were saying that's not really your struggle, and then I was like,
Oh, yeah,
actually, it is
yeah.
kind of like a
Yeah.
little bit, but it's not your major struggle.
Yeah, it's more about. I don't have a problem sitting with myself. Like, all right, for instance, yesterday I went to I got for Christmas I got a gift card for Rafa Yoga, which has this thing called the Urban Sweat. I think we've talked about it before here, and it's basically these multiple different saunas and a really cool chill lounge area and like a steam room and like cold showers and stuff like that. So I went there and I was basically like treating myself. I was taking a break, taking a time out, and
Now, see, because this is what now mom's calling me.
why?
I don't know. I'm sorry. We could never just, mom, mom,
Oh my God.
mom.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
probably Soul.
Sorry, guys. This is like.
Just forget about it. Everything's fine. Oh my God. Can you guys see? Can you guys
Sorry,
see
everyone. It's just nuts.
this? Let it go. Maybe you should put your phone away.
Yeah, just keep talking, and then I mean, I'll just.
If it's an
answer her if
emergency, I
have
mean,
to.
they just gotta open the door and say
I locked
something.
the door.
Oh.
That's why.
You
That's
locked
why
the door
I'm,
from the inside.
That's why I'm freaking out even more.
Yeah, so I went to Rafa Yoga at the Urban Sweat, and it's really I have to get when I'm consistent with the meditation and stuff, then it's like boom, I can get into it. I can meditate in like 5 minutes no matter where I am, right? But if I'm not consistent with it, then it takes something like going to like this spa for like 3 hours and having like multiple hours of time alone without a phone, without talking to people or whatever, to get back into that zone. And that kind of just initiated it. Now I have to like keep meditating every night, and then I'd say it kicks in really quick within a few days now. By like Monday or whatever, today's Saturday, I'll be able to just get back into that flow real quick.
Yeah.
But just because I let it go for so long that now I'm having to like regroup, and I think it was like the holidays too, but that's no excuse. Holidays it's just because it's a holiday shouldn't mean I don't take care of
Take
myself.
care. Right. Well, that was like what you were saying about me, like in terms of like how I could be on a routine.
Yeah.
But the minute something happens, like it's a holiday or we're going on a trip somewhere or whatever, that's when I'm like, oh, I'll just do it when I get back or whatever, or I let it
Yeah.
interfere with my, with really the routine, and then when I come back home, it's so hard for me to get back on track.
Right. Yeah. So your stuff is like the health stuff. My stuff is like also it's like mental health, spirituality stuff. Because I don't mind fucking not drinking or not doing whatever during the holidays. Like I don't mind like everybody else is drinking. I don't care. I'll just not drink or whatever. If I'm in that like zone of like I gotta get like super healthy right now, I usually like if it's been like a few months without drinking or smoking weed or eating crappy food or whatever, then maybe if we're going out to dinner tonight, a friend's birthday or whatever, and I haven't had a drink since
The
Christmas.
holidays. Hmm.
So it's only been really 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I really don't want to, but I could splurge on an espresso martini, one maybe, and then I won't do anything for like 2-3 weeks or something.
I feel like it's so easy to like rationalize having an espresso martini because
I know, it's like a treat. It's like a
It's a
dessert.
dessert. Yeah. So you're just kind of like, I mean, is it really that like?
I've never had an espresso martini unless you had like one of those like shitty fucking syrupy ones
Oh,
that
yeah.
have like made me feel like crappy the next day. Like I can have one espresso martini and be perfectly fine.
I'm good. Yeah.
I've had like one glass of wine and then the next day I felt like a little lazy and tired. But espresso martini, it's like an upper and a downer,
Yeah.
you know,
All mixed in one.
and a dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah, upper downer dessert.
It's wild.
I mean, if you got a good one.
Speaking of upper downer, so last night, yesterday. So I don't know if everyone knows about the just, what's going on in the world right now with psychedelic treatment, right? And how just amazing the research has been, right? I know I've talked about it on here. I'm getting trained in the psychedelic assisted therapy. So I'm very into psychedelics and how they can help us on a clinical level. So last night I took a microdose, right, of psilocybin, and
Like a chocolate.
yeah, so it was yeah. So and so I had microdosed the chocolate, and I microdosed last time as well, maybe about a year ago, in Florida with for Catherine's birthday, and I remember telling you that the next day I felt like crap the next day because that's just I think like a feeling that just happens when the next day after
Even
a,
after
a drug
microdosing.
like that, like yeah. So I didn't feel so great, but that the next day after, for about 2 weeks after that, when I tell you that anxiety, like, gone. Like this is like I mean like I had no symptoms, no nothing. I still had I'm sure it's still, but I had no symptoms of anxiety were present for 2 weeks straight. No irrational thought, no this, no that, no even if it was for a fucking second, nothing for 2 weeks. I felt the best I've ever felt in that 2 weeks. Cut to
So
last
it's the same scenario you're saying. It
Yeah.
feels like the next day.
Cut to last night. I did the microdose, right? Clinical amount of microdosing. And then I woke up today. I felt like crap, right? In my head, more so, just a head. Then I took that nap. In this moment right now, I feel I
Right
feel
now.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you can tell a difference between me, but I
I thought you were
feel
just putting on like the show for the
no, this is I feel amazing.
putting on a show for the show. Okay.
No, I
Good.
feel amazing. Mentally, physically, I feel amazing right now. It's wild. It's just so wild. And there was a study through Mind Matters actually not too long ago. Actually, I just read it recently, and the study was again another study on how psilocybin. It's been showing that with treatments of psilocybin, people are having a relief from anxiety for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, like afterwards. And so to me, I mean, that's amazing to me, in my mind. So
Have you heard
through a
anything?
microdosing, not through
Right.
not
full
at the
blown.
psychedelic level,
All right.
at a microdosing level.
Have you heard anything about dosing, like for different people? Like you know how like with like certain drugs, maybe like painkillers or something like that, where like if you're like a 300-pound guy, you need to like kind of take a little bit more or something like that. Is this a similar
Based
thing,
on
or you
size
don't
and
know?
based on I don't know. I feel like we didn't get there yet in my training. Or it just isn't a thing because
They might not know.
everything that they've been talking about so far, it doesn't, they haven't, when they're talking about dosing, they haven't mentioned like body type or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
weight or anything like that.
From my research on MDMA, that book, it's called MDMA, the Magic Pill or something like that. Damn, I'm screwing it up. It's an older book, but anyways, he goes through all like the clinical studies and stuff like that, and with them and MDMA, and now that I think back, they never mention weight or anything, and they're giving everybody like the same doses, larger doses, bigger dose, and they're all having the same effect, and it doesn't matter. They don't ever mention whether it's a guy or a girl or their weight or anything like that. And
Yeah,
they're
they haven't
still
mentioned
so
it. Yeah, I'm sure it'll. I'm sure it's something that they've already like been pinpointing, but just haven't been. Because they obviously very clearly have stated start low. So always
yeah.
start with a low dose when you're doing it. On a patient or whatever,
But
because you can add, you can't really take away. But so everyone's gonna end up obviously taking a different dose to give them that psychedelic effect because we're all different. But
yeah. Now that I think about it, I think in that book he ended up doing an IV. So
it
then
was
it
of
doesn't.
MDMA.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
So it didn't matter because it's always going directly in the
got it.
bloodstream. I think it's like when you're consuming, because people have different digestive
Mm-hmm.
systems
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So
That makes
um,
sense.
so that's where I think that could come into play.
Yeah. So again, disclaimer, not saying to go out and go illegally buy shrooms or anything like that. So please
Don't
do
do
not
it.
take what I'm saying as that. But um, New York is actually already in talks of legalizing
Yeah. You
psilocybin
got
for
Colorado,
a clinical
Oregon.
treatment. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. So if you have the opportunity to, financial's a big thing, but if you have the opportunity to, if you are treatment resistant, that you're finding that you've tried several SSRIs or other medications, and you've tried holistic stuff, you tried everything you could, and it's just still, I mean, it's definitely an amazing treatment. So, I just wanted to talk about that because that was like, I feel, and every time, it's the second time now that I've microdosed, and I feel like,
Yeah, and also in this book, I mean, I guess MDMA is totally different than the psilocybin. I mean, I wouldn't say totally different, but it's slightly different, right?
MDMA.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, well, I
yeah.
mean, yeah, there, the treatment experience in terms of in terms of how you get there, right?
Hmm.
Because that psychedelic experience is also going to be a little, I don't know if it's different, but just the focus may be a little different. So, for example, with like psilocybin with mushrooms, it's a lot of like love
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like acceptance, forgiveness.
yeah.
Ketamine also has a little bit of that as well. I'm not too MDMA. I can't speak so much on a clinical aspect because they don't speak much about MDMA in my trainings. They do, but it's a lot of like ketamine and psilocybin.
Yeah. Sorry, I totally fucked up that book. Now I just remember the name is DMT,
DMT,
the magical drug or something like
right? So
that.
that's not MDMA.
Yeah, it is MDMA, isn't it?
DMT is MDMA.
I think they're yeah.
Hold on, maybe
Clearly
I'm
not
just learning
scientists
something.
here.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's so crazy because like I've watched all this stuff, I've read all these books, and I have like the worst memory. So recalling these things, this is why it's so hard for me to like explain things to some people, I think,
No, yeah,
because
DMT is not MDMA.
totally different.
Yeah, it's a different drug in
All
itself.
right, so they were doing DMT. So I was way off. But, you know, I was just talking about dosing. But you know, I think I like shrooms. I don't. I'm taking a break because I had that one time where I think I talked about it on here where I died. It was a good experience, but it was an intense experience where I'm like, okay, I've done that and I know what that's about and it's all good. My life is good. I'm happy with everything.
Every
You know,
time, anytime we talk about it, you're like, nope, I'm
it's
good.
a little
It's
PTSD.
yeah, it's like you're scared of it. You're like, nope, I got there. It was great. I learned a lot, and it took me to where I needed to get.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
I
I
have
don't
this
want to go
like
back.
feel because I died in this shroom trip. I took like way too much, but it was like a good death. And I've explained. I won't go through the whole details of the story again, but you know, it was like good. It was like I went into this other world, and we were like basically saying bye and saying, okay, this is it. Then you just left your body and you're going into outer space essentially, right? And but then I ended up coming back. So I'm like, man, maybe I got lucky on that one. You know, if I do it again, I might not come back. But it wasn't like a bad experience of dying. It actually made me feel more comfortable with dying. So it's just that I'm like, okay, I understand that now. I'll keep that in my mind for when I'm older and I'm about to die, because I'll be like, I know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really need to see that again. But I'm also like, it was pretty cool. It was just the come down, yeah. I mean, when you're taking like a high dose, you know how you're feeling now, like, or how you were feeling kind of crappy. Like, you take like a lot and you're throwing up and like
No, I know. Well,
feeling like shit for
I
like
only
2
know
days.
that just because when I was younger, I dabbled in like other psychedelics, and
Mm.
so I remember that feeling of the next day, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
not like
It's kind of weird. It's like you're going into like I don't know. I kind of related to like if we went to like another planet or something, and they had like oxygen, but maybe the gravity was like off a little bit or something, and like if we went there, then we'd have to our bodies would have to adjust, so we might feel like nauseous or sick or something. That's kind of how you feel when you come back off of that, you know,
yeah.
and you're just like adjusting to Earth or some shit because you've been tripping for like 8 hours.
So now that actually, man, this whole podcast for me is like a big insight. So when I was on the microdosed amount last night, we went to see. Me and my friend went to go see this Monet art immersion experience, right? And now that I think about it, because I mean, going into that just experience last night, I've already had this self-compassion thing going on in my head because it's something that I'm really trying to now like focus on and work on, this pressure I put on myself, etc. So when I was in there, I had told you that as I'm like watching this beautiful art and seeing all of like Monet and Degas and like all these different artists like on this like it was just with lights and it was just like amazing. What I was focusing on the whole time, my friend looks at me and she's like, "What are you thinking about right now?" Because I'm just like can't stop laughing. Stop laughing. She's like, "What are you thinking about?" And I'm like, I can't stop smiling. And everything to me was just beautiful. And like all I felt was this like huge amount of love with myself in the space that I am in life. Love. My daughter came up a lot during that time. It was just a lot of like beauty and just happiness and just love for like me and how happy I am and just like it was amazing. And so I think that's also probably why I feel really great right now too, because now that I'm reflecting, I'm like kind of taking that and
Putting the pieces,
yeah,
the
I'm putting the
puzzles
pieces
together.
together and I think it definitely did that for me last night because it was really
It's like you like subconsciously set your intention for doing the
right.
shroom trip,
Yep.
the microdose or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all about set and setting, man.
100%, 100%. And yeah, whatever you're like focusing on at the time, if your life is like super stressful and struggling and stuff, then you might not have the best trip, if especially if you're not around people that oppose that thought mindset, you know.
Yeah.
It's about like the people you're with and what they're even thinking about and their energy too. So it's like there's all kinds of variables in there. That's why it's probably important for people if they're going to do shrooms to do it with a clinician or a psychotherapist in a
Therapeutic
setting
setting.
that yeah, and then put in your intention prior to and have these thoughts and stuff that you want to work on when you're going into it, as opposed to just like, hey, I'm gonna pop shrooms and fucking walk around in the woods. Then you might not be ready for what it's gonna like
Yeah,
bring to the front.
that may be something different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It could be. It could
I
be.
don't know about that.
I mean, luckily, I think I've had some like really good experiences, like when I was younger or whatever. Just I don't know. I think I hung around with a lot of just I wouldn't say open-minded people, just not giving a fuck. I had a lot of not give a fuck friends. So
Yeah.
so it was like there was no limitations on what we could think about and do while we were on it, I think, I'm just thinking about this right now too. But I think,
I don't think I was. I don't. When I see myself younger and know who I was during that time frame, I don't think. Remember, I told you the first time I ever tried shrooms when I was like, I don't know, 16. I fell asleep. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just wasn't even
Pretty typical for you.
knocked out.
Fall asleep all the time.
But when I think back on who I was during that time, even in my 20s as well, and maybe even like low 30s, like I don't think it would even, there's no way that I would get the same.
Yeah, like what were you doing? Like who were you with, and like what type of like
The
environment
peop
and the intention that you were putting into this? Like
Yeah,
what
I
were you
mean, the
going through
people
at the
were,
time?
yeah, it wasn't really so much the people as I think it was just really me and where I was mentally at that point. Like, I don't think that I was even thinking like doing it for like a therapeutic purpose, like
Yeah.
at those ages. I was just like, ah,
No, I don't think anybody,
right, like
most
have
people.
fun
I
and
mean,
da da da. And
maybe
so
nowadays though they do. Because actually, my nephew,
I think now, yes,
yeah,
now kids do
yeah,
because of the research that's coming out now.
yeah,
And now it's coming out as this like really like great thing
yeah.
that people can do for themselves versus this like awful fucking thing.
Right, right,
Whereas
right.
when we grew up, it was like, don't
It's
do
like don't do
drugs,
that, don't. Yeah,
like so
because our parents knew nothing about it,
nothing.
but they knew that it was illegal. So they're saying you cannot do this.
Meanwhile, it actually was legal prior. I wish I knew that back then because I would have been like, oh, well, actually,
Well, it
Dad,
was legal before
it
we
was
were
legal.
born. It was
Well,
in,
way
like in the
before we were
70s.
born, like 19. No, it started off in like 1920 something.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, then yeah. But yeah, no, psilocybin just I'm not even gonna say, but it wasn't that long ago. It was like in the 60s or 70s where it became illegal.
all of them, all of the psychedelics that they were already using for research from 1920 all the way until like 1970,
Oh, any kind of
1960,
psychedelic.
which is acid, all
Really?
that, they were all legal. But then I think when the 60s, 70s hit and it was all like the whole like, fuck the
Yeah, yeah,
government
yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of da da da, they started seeing it as like, oh, they're doing these drugs that are making them
They're
out of
recognizing
control, and
things and they're getting
and they want to
smarter.
fight back and da 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 and all this stuff. And then I think Reagan came in and then he was like, and that's what kind of.
Man, where are we at with I mean, to me at this point, I'm kind of switching gears a little bit, and I know you don't really want to talk about this stuff too much, but to me, it is so obvious that like government is like not. There's so many different things at this point that are coming to the light, right? Whether it's them colluding with like Twitter and other social medias to like restrict speech and shut people's accounts down, to them making marijuana and all these psychedelics illegal. Now everything is like coming to light. Like most people know now that psychedelics are not this horrible demon drug, and marijuana definitely is not. So they've been bullshitting us this whole fucking time. Or maybe they just didn't even fucking know, you know? But that just goes to prove
Well, they
that the
did.
government doesn't know
They,
everything.
They did
and
know because the research was coming out during that time that it was actually
okay,
like quite effective.
so then like, why do we trust these
they were doing
people?
research in hospitals.
Like why if they say something like, oh, take this vaccine, everybody's like, okay, the government said so. Okay, the pharmaceutical company that's been lying to us for many years about all kinds of things, and they've been sued and paid out billions of dollars in fines admitting wrongdoing of all kinds of different other medications. Oh yes, trust them, and also trust the government, because those are the smart people that will tell you how to fucking survive this pandemic, right? Those are the last people we should listen to survive this pandemic, you know? But I hope that some of these things are coming to light. And, just because maybe you had a friend like 5, 10 years ago who was like a conspiracy theorist who was telling you about Florida and all these other things, like maybe that person isn't that bad. Like maybe they are just more, maybe they do more research and they have more time on their hands or something like that or whatever. But like, I think it's at this point, it's not like a right left thing, Democrat Republican thing, a fucking, you're on this side, I'm on that side. It's like a human truth, like what is reality? What is happening here? What are we trying to do for our kids in the future? Like fuck all that other bullshit. It's all just like a facade, like this like show, and we watch it on TV. It's literally like a show, and we watch it on TV, and nobody does anything, right? Whereas like we can do something in our own lives, and we can have podcasts like this and talk about this, and I just don't understand. I guess I do. It's literal brainwash. That's the only conclusion I can come to, even though that sounds conspiracy theory talk. But unless, can you come to some other conclusion of like why our parents or, whatever, like whoever that's just like still at this time saying the vaccine is works and you need to get it and you need like what the truth is that it hasn't really worked as well as they said it has, right? The truth is that a lot of these doctors who were actually trying to sound the alarm got shut off of Twitter from speaking about it by our government. This is the truth. This is a fact. I know you haven't been like paying attention too much to these like Twitter files, things that have been coming out, but that's what's going on. These are actual emails from our government to Twitter saying, shut down this doctor's Twitter page. Don't show this information.
So where are you getting at?
I'm getting at like how at this point, almost 3 years later after this pandemic, that anybody can still be like, yeah, we gotta get more vaccines. We gotta freaking, the government says that there's a mandate and we have to abide by that. Like,
Because Joe, people,
this is brainwash.
I think that again, everyone's different and has their own way of looking at
Well,
things.
this
It
is-
doesn't matter. People will pick and choose what it is that they
But
feel is more.
why?
Because that's just how. I mean, listen, people are going to pick and choose what they want to believe in, dependent on whatever narrative they have in their head. But for them, it's not a narrative; it's just the truth. It's just for them.
But why is
it's
it the truth for them?
Why is anything the truth for you?
Because I will listen to multiple sources that are contradicting each other even.
I know, and people will say that they do that too.
No, but okay. All right, so there is no even this is actually an example of what I'm trying to talk about. Even with the information, maybe it's because you haven't really studied it and I'm just like saying it to you and you're just like, "Oh, I guess so. It sounds conspiracy theory." But the FBI talked to Twitter directly and told them to shut down doctors that were speaking out against vaccine.
Joe,
So like if
understand
that
this
is hold on, but if that is a fact,
Joe,
how can you go with anything else?
So I hope that, like, to me, what this just is it just shows that, again, like I said, people, the whole world, as your own as your own self, will choose and focus on whatever it is that they're either used to, or that's like, how they've been thinking, or whatever it may be. Like, people don't just like wake up one day and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna like think differently. Like, it's usually something that you kind of have to like acquire over time in terms of opening up your mind more, you know, and being able to kind of, so a lot of people don't do that. So like, for example, my dad could most likely read all those emails and see all that stuff. And then I would know exactly what he would do. He'd probably just be like, huh, all right, well, we got to see what's there. And he would make some kind of something
Oh,
up.
we can't do this.
And
You can't even make any decisions until it's on
then he'd
MSNBC.
Go back to the news, and the news isn't showing any of that stuff.
Right.
It's not even a big deal, like to the world, because the news is not putting it out there. I
Right.
mean, you know, so I think Elon was hoping that it would have been, you know, I think that was a part of his like thing, but because everything is so controlled, you know, it didn't blow up as big.
I mean,
as
it's slowly getting out because these are actual facts, and these are actual people that like did these things and said these things, and they can't deny it, you know. So like the
Right.
media companies aren't denying it; they're just not
covering it.
covering it, right? Which is the same basically thing, right? And I actually just tweeted to Elon. I hope you get this, Elon. But it was I was like, when is he gonna go on like Joe Rogan or Lex Friedman or like a whole podcast tour to to promote what he's putting out on Twitter? Also, giving those Twitter files, he's been keeping them internal within the Twitter world, with giving it to independent journalists and stuff within Twitter, and they have to post it on Twitter, right? But like, he should give those files to everybody. Like literally make a video of them sending it to Fox News and CNN and whatever, and like dropping it off of their doorstep so we all know that they have it, right? And then see what they do with it, like something like that. But I think he needs to do another. He's done a lot on Twitter, and there's a lot of people that pay attention to Twitter as far as like truth and politics and stuff like that. But like, I think if he really wants to get this truth out, he needs to like push it further and have lots of podcasts like this and other larger ones talking about this, because it's an important thing, and it explodes that truth that quote unquote truth that like your father and like so many other people have been like conditioned to believe that this is the world that you live in, but like it's not. It's really not. There's so much information coming out now, and now all these other doctors are able to speak their mind on Twitter, and they're getting onto other podcasts, and it's coming to all the stuff that they've been saying is coming to fruition, like the myocarditis within male boys and stuff from getting the vaccine. Like, that's true. Kids are having like literally like having heart attacks from this. but the government just approved for fucking like 2-year-olds to get it. Why are they doing that? It's all the only reason like our government or society even exists is through trust. We trust that you're going to do this job. This organization does this job. And then now it's just gotten so big that we all just like assume everybody's doing their job when they're really not. They're doing other shit and they're fucking us. I just went on a serious rant there. But I think it's important that this gets out there because like you said, the media is not talking about it. So whatever.
I also haven't really.
Here.
Well, I also haven't like. I mean, well, again, I haven't seen anything like. I don't follow much of like the news or anything, so I don't know what they're talking about. But
all I hear is that fucking like shitting on Elon, and like, why would they just focus on? Oh, he's a billionaire, so he just buys it because because Twitter didn't like what he was saying. Okay, or he's actually shitting on his own company, his past company, by releasing these files. He's like, all right, my company that I own now was doing these shitty things, and I just want you guys to know the truth of what was going on here. That's all he's saying, And honestly, there should be a movie made out of all this. It's crazy.
There will be.
Yeah, there really needs to be.
There will be.
But all right, well, I went on a rant about that.
You did, and I listened to what you asked me to do, which was to not cut you off, and I
Appreciate
sat here, and it killed me. A lot of me. It killed a lot of me.
Because
was-
what
I
did you
was-
want to like? What are things that you wanted to stop me about? It's like, oh, you're not allowing people to be brainwashed. That's what I'm hearing.
No. I think the reason why I think whenever you go off on that and you get into that whole thing again, I think it to myself, and I think we have talked about this, and I've heard him say this thousands and thousands of times.
I have to keep saying it because clearly
that it's like I don't know what more like I don't know how many times he has to say the same thing about all this. And so to me I'm like, okay, okay, so rather than sit here and be like, oh well they're not doing this or da da da, like what's the conclude, like what's the final, what are we concluding here, like the conclusion is that yes, things are being controlled. The media is not talking about certain things. There's lots of lies out there, and and whatever people think the truth is most likely skewed or not really the truth in some way, shape, or form. I mean, in a nutshell, it's like, and then what?
Well,
like
what I'm trying to do
And I
is-
didn't ask this question for you to answer because I actually have to. I actually do have to go take a shower because we have to go out at 6:00 soon. So I didn't ask right now for you to answer it, but that's kind of where I go in my head when you speak. So about that specifically.
well, I can go down that rabbit hole too.
I know we don't
so-
have time. I don't have time for that.
All right, well,
I don't have time.
what? All right, I'm just gonna break this down. The reason why I say these things all the time is not for you. You obviously know.
Oh, I know it's not for me.
Whoever's listening here is the reason. And then whether there's somebody listening now or 5 years from now, this will be out there, right? Along with hopefully hundreds or thousands of other podcasts or other media, because we are competing with what we were just talking about, like the MSNBCs and the CNNs and the Foxes or whatever, that are purposefully skewing information, whether it's financially because they're getting paid by Pfizer, because 75% of the advertisements on, say, a CNN come from pharmaceutical companies, right? So if you're getting 75% of your money from the pharmaceutical company, then it's probably not a good idea for you to shit on the pharmaceutical company, right? It's kind of like a what do you call it? Like a conflict of interest, But nobody sees this, and like everybody's like, oh, what do you think, Joe? Like there's like some conglomerate, the Illuminati is like controlling. No, it's what I just said. If 75% of your money comes from this industry that is fucking you over,
I mean, we know.
they
I
can't
think-
fucking talk about it.
I think a lot of people know that big pharma is a huge.
Well, that's this
thing.
once again. This is another
However,
fact. This is the truth. This is it.
It is a truth, and I think a lot of people know that. But it's such a big truth.
That it's like
that
crazy.
What
It's
do you
like,
do it? Like, how do what?
You
what-
shut
what
off the
does
fucking
one
TV
do?
is what you do. That's what you do.
Everyone shut off the news. and
Shut off
the
your TV. I mean, honestly, don't even listen to us. Just fucking go live your life and don't fucking worry about all this shit that's going on, because all it's doing is injecting fear into you. All right, that's all I got to say about that.
Okay. All right, everyone. Have a great week. I don't know. Hopefully someone can hear what we talked about today, especially about the self-compassion piece, really, and kind of maybe really kind of process that for yourself, especially if that's something that you feel like you lack in your life. And I send love and happiness and health.
Yes. Go love yourself.
Go love yourself.
That's like the opposite of go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Go love yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
Go love yourself.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.